going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing a little mandatory positive video. Yesterday I made a video talking about Kung Fu Panda 4. I wasn't a big fan of that movie. I ranted on it. I kind of ripped on it a little bit, and it was a relatively negative video, and I hate doing that. I like spreading positivity. I really try to find the best in things, and yesterday I kind of failed on that, and I feel bad about it. So every time I make a negative video, I try to follow it up by a positive video. So today we're going to be talking about the live action adaptation of Avatar on Netflix, and I'm going to be just kind of going through a list of things that I think they did really, really well in that show, and talk about a bunch of things that I'm really excited about for the future of this show. So let's dive right into this. Okay, so one of the big things I wanted to kind of go over was some of the changes and stuff like that, and a lot of these changes could definitely be seen either side of the spectrum, but these are for the most part changes that I think worked relatively well. The first thing I wanted to talk about is they've tied the bending and like the powers and abilities that people had, they tied them very closely to people's emotions. You kind of tend to realize that throughout the show. A lot of times Zuko, when he's firebending, it's because he's using his rage, and he's pretty much just like showcasing like his pent-up rage in the flames that he's throwing and stuff like that, which I think is really interesting. Aang, he's a very like calm and collected person. The air nomads for the most part are all monks because they try to, you know, give off like peace and tranquility, and that's part of the thing that links them to their airbending. The more powerful somebody is, the more at peace they are for the most part. For waterbending, they tend to have some of their best waterbending moments when they're emotional and they're sad, and I just think that that's very interesting. I think Azula also in this show, for the most part, from what we've seen of her, she's definitely using that anger as well to kind of like wield the lightning for the short period of time we saw her wield lightning, and for the moment where she's fighting the airbender and she's absolutely, you know, destroying this guy. Did I say airbender? I meant earthbender. But just all that stuff, we're seeing a lot of the bending has to do with these people's emotions, and I think that that works relatively well. I think that it's helping us kind of connect to the characters and have a better understanding of who these characters are, what they're going through, and all the trauma and stuff that they've experienced, and I thought that was a pretty interesting change. The next one I want to talk about, Sokka as a character. I know a lot of people are all very, very disappointed that Sokka isn't that good, and in my opinion, I think he was great. For one, I think that the actor is fantastic. All the interview moments and behind-the-scenes stuff that I've seen of him, he literally embodies Sokka very, very perfectly. I think that one of the big problems that he probably had was just overall the script not writing the best jokes for him, and since he's a new up-and-coming actor, he's trying to stick to the script a little bit here, but I think that in the future seasons, he's probably going to be able to improv a little bit. He's probably going to come up with his own jokes, and he's going to be able to be more of himself, which I think is going to help a lot more. But overall, we got a lot of glimpses of him just being the Sokka from the original show. He has a lot of comedy that I think works really well for this show, and I want to go ahead and say that a lot of the people who are saying he's not as funny as the original show need to realize that a lot of the things that he's doing that aren't as funny is because, for one, the character's a little bit more matured. He's a 15, 16-year-old. I think he's a little bit older than that, but he's a young teenager or whatever who's had to have the burden of being the protector of his village and having to stand up and show that he is fearless to all these younger people who look up to him and, you know, see him kind of as a mentor figure. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to be as lighthearted as we expect him to be in the original show. But that being said, these glimpses and stuff that we're getting into his character being as funny as he is works really well. And on the other hand, also in animation, there's a lot of like really cartoony bits and stuff that they do with his character. There's a lot of like over-the-top expressions and stuff that they can give him. The actor can only do so much because it's in real life, and for the most part, I think Sokka absolutely killed it. One thing that I wanted to talk about, I know a lot of people are very negative about the fact that the Aang actor wasn't doing a very good job. For one, he's a kid. I'm not going to touch on his acting skills at all, but I think that a lot of people were mostly upset about the fact that his entire story arc in here is he's mostly just like talking about how he has so much responsibilities and how he has this powerful burden that he needs to save the universe and stuff like that, how he's really stressed out and he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I understand where they're going at with this from the Netflix side of the show, but I think that it did kind of stray away from him being a kid. And I wanted to point out the episode that I think did the best job showcasing that he's a kid. Obviously, he didn't do any penguin sliding. He didn't do some of the fun, goofy stuff that we would expect from him. But one thing that I really liked, in episode 6, they did a really good job of showcasing how he was a very little kid, because that's the episode where him and Zuko have a lot of conversations, a lot of interactions. I think the episode's called The Mask or something like that. And basically, Zuko breaks Aang out of this prison, and then they end up escaping together and working together as a team. And Aang cannot pick up on people's like personalities at all, and it does such a good job of showcasing that he's a kid, because Zuko is somebody who very clearly does not want to be messed with. He doesn't want to have these conversations. He just, wants to be alone and in peace. And Aang just keeps being like, hey, let's have this conversation. Hey, this might be really personal, but oh my god, how do you do this? Oh my god, how do you do that? Oh my god. And he's just like prying Zuko for all of these questions that Zuko clearly doesn't want to answer. And then like even after Zuko has some painfully bad outburst, Aang is like, do you think if it was 100 years ago, we would be friends? And then Zuko's like, no, stop. And it's so funny to me. It is so funny how much that Aang is just like, he keeps going at Zuko, even though Zuko's made it very clear that he doesn't want anything to do with him. And I just thought that was fantastic. And that was a more subtle way to show that like Aang is a kid and he doesn't fully understand things. And I think that the Avatar show is doing a good job of portraying Aang as being somebody who's very naive. And I liked that episode a lot. And honestly, everything about that episode, the mask episode, episode 6, that might have been my favorite episode of the entire show. I think that they literally nailed that entire episode. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of rapid fire. All of the characters and specifically like the actors who I think did a really good job. The actor for Uncle Iroh, absolutely perfect. Fire Lord Ozai, absolutely fantastic. Commander Zhao, really, really good. The actress who plays Zuki, fantastic. I can't remember the name of the character right now. I think it's June. I could be wrong, but the bounty hunter from the one episode with the bounty hunter, she's incredible. And Jet is so good. I love everything with his character arc. I love everything with his the way that his story is portrayed in this show, and that actor just plays him incredibly, incredibly well. I loved it. I think that for the most part, the casting of the show is incredible. I do think that the big three all definitely need to kind of work together a little bit more in the future. We need to see a lot more chemistry between them. And but overall, I think like Aang did a pretty decent job in the moments where he really needed to step up and have some good acting chops. He did good. The first episode when he went to the Avatar state, that was very emotional, and I really liked that portrayal. Katara, for the most part, I think that she's doing a good job showcasing how she wants to be more powerful and she wants more respect. I think that the North Pole episodes have done a good job with that. And Sokka, like I'd mentioned earlier, he's doing a great job of showcasing the character of Sokka and kind of giving off the general like feelings of what Sokka should have. But for the most part, I think that it works really well, and I'm really, really digging it. I also wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to Azula. For the most part, that actress is doing a really good job as well. And something particularly that I like about it is she's being introduced in the first season this time. Last time for the animated show or whatever, she doesn't get introduced until I think the very, very last episode of the first season, and then she becomes more of a character in the second season. But I like everything they're doing with her right now. Showcasing that like Fire Lord Ozai is a terrible father, and he's like really trying to push people past their breaking points and stuff like that, and he's really getting under her skin, and she is also pissed about her brother, and it's just doing a really good job of kind of laying the groundwork for how Azula is going to go on to be a really, really like, I don't know how to say this without just calling her a bitch. She's going to be a bitch later in the show, and they're doing a really good job of kind of giving her that villain origin story that she needs. And she's also starting to show like a lot of signs that she's going to be incredibly, incredibly powerful. So I'm loving this so much so far. Okay, now a couple last things that I want to talk about. For one, going back to episode 6, like I mentioned, this is my favorite episode of the show, and I really love everything that they did with this episode. But specifically, the more like character work that they've done with Zuko so far in the show has been really, really good, and I'm loving the actor who plays Zuko. I think if I had to pick one favorite portrayal right now, it's probably going to be Zuko. I think that he's absolutely killing it in this show, and something that I'm just really liking about it is they're adding a lot more character depth to him. We're having more of an understanding of where he came from. We get to see a lot of glimpses into his traumatic past, and one thing that I really like about episode 6 is they show the scene where he gets his scar. They show him battling his father. They're showing how he's very confused about like what's disrespectful, what's not respectful, and how he's just a kid and he doesn't know any better, but he's being treated by a father who's expecting more from him. Once again, just the Emperor Ozai, absolutely terrible. Fire Lord, that's the word I meant to say. Emperor, sorry, I'm blanking right now. I'm thinking about Star Wars, which is weird because I don't like Star Wars. Anyways, am I gonna get attacked for that? I might get attacked for that. Anyways, but yeah, that stuff is really cool. I really like that episode, everything that they do with him, and I really like the story that they give through flashbacks in that episode, where Prince Zuko is not for the whole concept of sacrificing one group of men for another group of men, and he doesn't like, it's kind of like the trolley problem, actually. I think that that's a great way to kind of put this into perspective. Their plan for this specific war battle thing that they're going to do is have the 42nd Fleet, and they're going to go do this thing, and they're going to purposely get murdered and slaughtered so that our other troops can sneak around the back and they can kill and wipe out everybody that they need to wipe out. And Zuko says it's a terrible plan. He really hates the idea of us killing certain people because they're inexperienced, and he talks about how these people need time to grow into being good, strong fighters, because as of right now, obviously they're going to be the weakest fleet, but they could be the best fleet, and there's no reason to sacrifice these people's lives if they don't need to be sacrificed. And we get this great story, and then it ends up being revealed that the group that, you know, Zuko is with the entire time, his crew, is that Flight 42, and I said flight. Is it fleet? I think it's fleet. But either way, that's his crew, and he basically saved the lives of all of them that day. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story of like that sacrifice that he was willing to make, and the fact that he saved all these people's lives. And it does a really good job of showcasing that outside of that really harsh exterior that he's giving off, that he's a very tough guy, that he doesn't really care that much. He is very loving, and he's very compassionate, and he cares about the people around him. And he really wants to kind of make the world a better place in a little bit, and he's better than most firebenders for the most part, which I really, really loved. Okay, and now the last little thing that I want to talk about is all the visual effects and all of the behind-the-scenes stuff. For one, I think that the direction of the show is relatively good for the most part. I think that the world building is fantastic. Seeing all the air temples, seeing Omashu, all of that stuff on the big screen is really, really good. I loved the North Pole sequences. I love the South Pole sequences. And overall, I just think that this world feels very real, and I really enjoy that. And on top of that, I think that the CGI and the effects are incredible. All of the bending, for the most part, looks really good. There's like one individual sequence with the water bending that I thought looked kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, during that fight sequence, we also got to see what I imagine a live-action Frozone would look like, doing the little ice skating on the... Oh, that was cool. That was pretty cool. And for the most part, I think that the CGI of the show entirely is just insanely, insanely good. Appa looks fantastic for the few sequences we see him. Momo, for the most part, looks really, really good. I mean, like, their fur, just everything about them, like, it literally feels like you could reach out and you can, like, pet them, and they're actually physically there. And all of the actors, whenever they're interacting with them, feels like they're actually, like, that close to them, and I really, really loved it. I think that they're doing a great job with that. And overall, just all of that CGI, specifically... One last one I wanted to shout out. The weird spirit realm monster person dude who steals people's faces. Yeah, that was terrifying. I wasn't ready for that. I remember in the show that was something that like kind of like gave me nightmares and freaked me out as a little kid. Seeing it in live action, kind of a little bit worse. Yeah, that was terrifying. I hated that. But yeah, overall, that was it for this video, guys. But just wanted to come on here and spread positivity towards the show and spread positivity about just anything in general. So, that being said, I hope you guys watching this are having an amazing day. But that's going to be it for me. Peace out. I hope if you like this video, you feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow. Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.